Hey now, and how are you doing? Want to welcome you to the next episode of Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. Today we're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. I was just talking to this gentleman, and man, I can't wait to do some more. But first, we want to say thank you, sir, for your service. So that's the most important thing that we want to say, at least to start off that way, sir. And I'll introduce you. How you doing this morning, Jay?
I'm doing great, David. Glad to be here. And I brought my bat just in case.
All right.
So,
Well, it sounds like from the story that you have of your life and what you've overcome, you've been bringing back since day one, man. Not only are you a veteran and combat veteran, so it's not just you were in some Hawaii location hanging out. You were up in the mountains. We were just talking about the mountains in Vietnam, and but also the leadership that you brought and the things that you sometimes brought home, right? The PTSD and the things that you had to overcome. So why don't you introduce yourself, please?
wow. I'll try to make it short. Just a farm boy from north central Illinois, big farm, working farm, lots of cattle, hogs, chickens, crops. We did a lot of ag spraying, agriculture spraying with planes for Del Monte. A lot of everybody's eating Del Monte products. We did for ourselves. We did for other farmers under contract. Went in the Marine Corps. My Marine Corps career didn't last real long. Enlisted in '67, went in early '68. Died November 12th, '69. Spent a year in a naval hospital, coma, lots of problems. Got out, did I'm a serial entrepreneur. I started lots of businesses because after I recouped, I couldn't find a job that would let me sit down and stand up because I had so many back problems and so many leg problems and leg braces and all that stuff. So I just started different businesses and then uh, had a died again, got hit by a drunk driver in September of '73 and recouped out of that. Again, that was a bad out of body, long gone, got me back. Um, Started a couple other little businesses, had the other one still going, and had a small corporate job for a while, and that didn't last. Went back to just keeping the businesses running. Got a good corporate job for back with a company called, you probably remember it, GTE, because
Yeah.
GTE used to be, GTE Sylvania, GTE Magnavox, the phone company, the Yellow Pages, and so on. And a lot of people don't know what the Yellow Pages are anymore. And that worked out real good. But they retired me, or they put me out to long term disability when I was 41 because I'd had so many surgeries and my paralysis was getting worse again. Because right after I'd started with the company, I had jumped in a swimming pool, broke my neck in 4 places, drowned, and was paralyzed from the shoulders down. And that's another whole story. And but when they put me out to pasture at 41, I mean, I had invested and I had enough things that I had done throughout my life at 40 by 41 um, that I financially was okay. I was secure, but I want to give back. I want to do
Right.
like
And at 41, you still have the rest of your life. I mean,
oh
now,
yeah,
you're in
yeah.
your 70s, so and you still
Well,
keep pushing. So it's
yeah,
not, you know,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm 76 and I'm so involved with stuff I don't hardly have enough time in the day as it is every 6.5 days a week. And but started another company. It did very, very well. We did a lot of graphic displays, digital imaging, trade show booth displays. Went to Jakarta, Indonesia, the Russian oil fields back when we were got along with Russia and helped them with their oil, and so on and so forth. And I got rid of that because I could see, everything has a time. Everything's got a time, and you gotta try to have a vision to the future and see what little things on the side are going to affect it. But I got out of that, did very well, kind of semi-retired, and about 6 months over here at our new house that we built. Um, my wife said something about let's build a fishing cabin. Well, there was more to it than that, and then we ended up building one small little house, and we had four full price offers on it. So before long, we went to four homes and 12 homes and 16 homes a year, and and then I shut that down 2.5 years ago, and now involved in something else that we're national. We just went international, And I've authored a book. I enjoy podcasting. I'm getting ready to start doing some public speaking. Some of it's going to be virtual because of my paralysis and my it is increased, and I'm in a power wheelchair now. And you know, and but I'd still like to get out because eyeball to eyeball, America misses so much. Just looking the person in the eye and feeling, getting that feeling.
100%. That in-person handshake, right? We were
Yeah.
talking about this outside. No matter what. I mean, I grew up, city. I wasn't a country boy, but it's that handshake. I
Yeah.
remember, you know, that handshake. When you look into somebody's eyes, you make a commitment to somebody, and that's old school.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all those things. But I mean, so through all that story, I mean, I heard at least three times you said you died, and by the grace of God, you're still here, obviously. what
Yeah.
did, what did each one of those things teach you? I mean, you know we hope that and I know because I've spoken to you, that you're always looking to the resilience, and resilience is so strong for you. So what did each one of those or any of those things teach you?
I, I think it was my upbringing, David, that originally kind of pushed me in that direction. And it's not just that. I mean, four other times I should have been dead. I mean, when I had COVID Delta 5 years ago, they told my wife to go home and start and make funeral arrangements. I went in on a Monday. They didn't expect me to be alive by Thursday or Friday.
Mm.
And then 2 years ago, was in an accident going eastbound on Interstate 10 towards the East Coast. I was still in Texas and I got knocked across, hit the center median on a 5 lane interstate, and went across 1 lane of traffic, then bounced across 5 lanes of traffic down the ditch, and the vehicle was totaled, and they had to get me out and all that, and I really didn't have anything more than my leg was cut, so it was just I. I guess what it teaches you is that in the short of it all is that God's got to you're here because God allowed you to be here or wanted you to be here initially. Initially. That's my opinion, and I think it's a fact, actually. And so once you've been conceived, not born, but you've conceived, your life plan is set. Whether you know it or not, it's there. So now you got to do God's will, and I don't want to get real heavy into that, but that's a fact, and I think that He puts things in your life as you move through life to overcome. So every little thing, whether it was when I stepped on nails as a kid, or the one that went all the way through my foot and my boot and my shoe and all that other stuff when I was 7 or 8 years old. Um, or I got my right leg, my ankle broken, my leg cut open, my boot cut open and stuff a few days after I turned 17 in 1967, right after, and my birthday's New Year's Eve. So I just had turned 17, and I was launching myself off a feeding auger, but if I hadn't gotten off and just broke my ankle and stuff and sliced my leg open, I'd have been ground up like hamburger. You know how a hamburger just it turns through it. So all of that, there's an old, I use this thing. I've said it for, oh God, I don't know, 55 years. Sweat dries, blood clots, and broken bones heal. Suck it up. And that's where a lot of it you got to do. It's just what we talked about doing a handshake and looking somebody in the eyeball. We've gotten away from that. Everybody wants what I call the microwave society. Make it quick, make it fast, hurry up. How many leads can I send out by email on a blanket email? And instead of going and seeing that one client, looking in the eye and saying, "Sir, I'm interested in your business and what I can help you with and how I can do it. And would you show me around your place and show me what you do and how you do it and give me some explanation?" Because what that does is whatever product you're selling or service you're selling, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yep, for sure.
And so it gets back to that. But I just taught me to never, well, it's like in my book, the strength within you, it's always too soon to quit. You can't quit. You got to keep pushing ahead. And if you're alive, it's because the Lord's kept, he stayed with you. He walked with you. And so I, I believe that. I mean, I believe
I
that.
believe that also. I mean, that's when I read your profile, about the grace of God. I was like, I wanted to talk to you because
Yeah,
I believe that. At some point, God does it. Then you have the metaphysical conversations. Well, then why is all the bad things? Well, we have to learn sometimes, and
yeah.
through your deaths, obviously not deaths, but things that brought you very close to it. Uh, you had to then learn something through it. And, through that, you've also learned who you were. And again, running a
Yeah.
company and that leadership of who you are, knowing who you are at all times.
Well, it's what you just said. Oh gosh, I forgot what the one word or two, but it is. It's like when in the Marine Corps, when I was having my out of body, and I'm looking at doctors walking away because they're giving up on me, and when they pulled me out of the car and got my face dug out of the steering wheel and all this other stuff, I was well, I mean, the Marines that got me out said I was dead,
Right.
and the young lady that was in between me and the guy I was taking to base, and I was taking a guy there that who'd had his, it's a long story, but his head had been cut open, skull, but his skull wasn't cut, but his scalp was cut, his ear was hanging off down into his neck, and we were part of a criminal intelligence unit, and they found out where he lived, and they they were going to kill him. And his wife ended up in a coma, 18 months, died. Roy passed away last year from a heart attack a year ago this month, and I'm still here. And it's it just keeps getting back to one of those things that you got to believe. And when I was up in the air looking down at the doctors and they're working on me, and then they're walking away because they said he's gone. He's just, and I'm
Well,
screaming and
you saw
hollering.
that. I just, right. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that's clear. Right. You saw, so you really had an out of body experience.
Oh, totally, 100%. I mean, the only one that wasn't was the third time I died. Um, was the one that was really different, but the other two I had a visual. It seems, or as I recall it, and but I could watch them, and they were saying, they couldn't get a pulse. They couldn't. There was no nothing, and there was a gentleman walked in, and he was, and I presume they called him because my left jaw was broken off. My left lower jaw was broken, and it was kind of sideways on my face. And my upper palate, I remember when I was in my coma, I could stick my tongue up through the roof of my mouth into my nasal passage.
Oh wow.
So, well, run your tongue over the top of your mouth
Right.
and you feel all those little ridges. I've
Yep.
got a scar about this wide all the way down where my whole upper palate was split open. So when I go to go a new dentist or I go to get my teeth cleaned and it's somebody else and they look and they go, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And my jaw's collapsed enough that I'm missing some teeth down here because they just there's not
They
enough
couldn't
room
put it
for
right.
them.
They couldn't put it back together.
They
Like it was. Right.
well, yeah, they when they put me back together, you got to think that's 19. Well, they worked on it in late '69. Where's technology gone since then? It's
Right.
amazing. I mean, I'm surprised that I've got the face I got. Because my head was crushed in up here, my hair was burned off, I had a burn here, my leg burns and up here are real bad. I mean, they're third degree. They melted all the way down. But it's just keep. But he got me back because he cut a tracheotomy right here, and the blood just went. Well, he had made the decision, and what happened was I'd had so many busted ribs and my lungs were punctured in so many places. I had bled to death. I drowned on my own blood. So
Mm.
I was so compressed on the inside that my heart had no room to expand and beat. So it was crushed in from the pressure from the
Right.
blood coming in that's why I didn't have a pulse. That's why I had nothing. And then when that happened, he called the other doctor and said, "Hey, get the hell back here. Let's there
Right.
this let
That
we got a
congestive heart
shot."
failure, but it was blood that
Yeah.
kind of had shut down your heart. Um, but all that has taught you. a lot about leadership. I mean, not only leadership in the military, but leadership in life.
Well, you just got to take the old saying of take the bull by the horns and kick him in a you know where, and and that's what it is. It's what are they going to do? If I ask you something or I'm going to lead you, I'm going to lead by example, and I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it good. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to do it correctly. I'm going to do it completely. I want to follow through. But you need to show people. But what are they going to do? Kill you? I've
Right.
already been dead. What are you going to do? So yeah, and it is. It's leadership by responsibility and take accountability for it. It's like, be trustworthy. Do what you say you're going to do, and under promise and over deliver. All
Always.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just all that kinds of is a big thing. It's kind of like when in entrepreneurialism, you should dream big. You should set your vision out there a million miles, but take small steps to achieve it.
Right.
Because if you stumble a little bit on a small step, you can correct it. But if you take a big steps, you slip and fall down, you're screwed. But I just I just had a picture sent to me by an old division manager. He sent it last night. I've still not responded, and it's a whole team of guys. Two of them went to the NFL, and there's several people on the team, and I was the DSM, and I'm a high school graduate. These guys are everyone was a college graduate. They were all two of them were all American. Uh, you know sports and all this. Here I'm the little crippled guy, and I'd already broken my neck, and I had leg braces and this and that, but I got along, and I was leading this, and we corrected it, and won the President's Award. We did all this other stuff, and it's you have to have a sound reason and direction and believe. You have to have a belief in your heart that's so strong that it overpowers everything. And I guess that's a good way to put it. I've never even said that before. But it's truly believe, not hope, believe and
Right,
have
right.
faith.
You got to believe it's done. This hope is you need to have a plan. If you're going to hope on something, you have to have
Yeah,
a plan because a plan to get it done. If you just put it out there, hope or pray, even with God, if you just pray,
yeah.
sometimes things aren't going to happen. You have to meet
But
Him halfway to actually start taking those actions to move forward.
well, you got to do it. And you mentioned plan. A plan is okay, and all the businesses I've started and done and we've accomplished. Uh, I've never had a business plan. A business plan, you got to change it so many times. You spend more time on the damn paperwork than on doing the damn job, And I know that people would argue with me of like, there's a lot of people with degrees, but they haven't started businesses, but they got a degree, And the fact is that it's kind of like a battle plan. A battle plan is a great idea. It's a great thing. It works good. Except when the shit hits the fan, you take the plan and throw it out the window because the battle's not going to be according to your plan.
Right.
And when I worked with the Yellow Pages, when we would go into a new market, let's say we worked Rochester, we worked Buffalo, okay, out in your area, and when you did that, that was worked out of the Erie division, and they developed what they call a market plan. Well, that was what was going on, what the economy's doing, what the businesses are coming in and out, and all that, and when I was a DSM, I threw the word battle market plan out the window, and I developed a battle plan. And some of the division managers and the regional vice presidents, they didn't particularly care for that. And I said, I don't really care. I'm in charge of the damn thing. That's it. It's going to be a battle because it's a battle. You're going to go out and battle
Life's
for
a
the
battle.
money.
I mean, to go along with that, yeah, life's a battle, and you can have
Yeah,
a plan,
yeah.
right? I mean, Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. I mean, and that's really what it is. But you need to have an idea. It doesn't have to be, and you have to be flexible enough
Flexible,
to,
flexibility.
yeah. So, how did you learn some of that flexibility?
I don't know. I guess just overall experiences, David, of everything I've been through. I I think a lot of it was. there again gets back to my childhood. Your years between your birth and your 17th year approximately are the most formative years of your life. I had to be flexible because of the cattle, because of the hogs, because of the crops, because of the weather. You're getting up, and tomorrow you're getting up at 4 a.m. You're going to be in the field by 4:30. You're going to grab something, get your coveralls on, get on the tractor and head out to the field. Well, you get up in the morning, it's raining out. Okay, you got to be flexible. Okay, I'm up. I'm going to go do something. So I'm going to bed some corn stalks in the barn for some of the cattle in that one section over there. And when you got 600 head of cattle, you can only get a certain amount in here. You got them over here, and you pick something else up to do. So stay flexible. Always have a different plan. Always, I try to work when I had my companies. I tried to have three companies at a time. I know that sounds, some people say, well, you can't do that or whatever. No, that's bullshit because it's just like the military. And you said you were down in Lackland, born in Lackland Air Force Base. Okay, America plans on the Trident. It's like the SEALs. But America has a plan of a Trident by air, land, and sea. And so why not have three different companies? If all three are doing good, that's great. But what if you only got one that's doing good, one that's doing medium, and one that's not so good? If the one that's doing real, you know what I mean? You keep
Well,
going with that.
and part of that is part of leadership is also making sure it's not you running it. You might be the end,
Yep. Yeah.
sign the bill at the end of the day, but it's having the leadership and teaching people how to do their jobs to run all the things. You're not doing all the jobs in three companies. That's
No,
where
no,
people
no,
make mistakes,
no.
and that's where entrepreneurs make mistakes as well, is by trying to do it all and
Yeah.
do what you're good at. That's what I always
You-
say. Stay in your lane, find what you're good at, and when you're able to hire the things that you're not good at, go do that.
Yeah, and I mean, I agree with that to a large degree, though I also believe that you should be able to start out, and I did start out. I mean, I was shoveling chicken shit out of brooder houses and chicken houses into manure spreaders when I was a kid. I mean, a young kid, and and chicken crap has got a very ammonia-y smell. It's overpowering. It's on a hot day. It's 95 degrees. You're sweating your ass off, but you're still doing it. Okay, so and if you got a new company and you're working it, I still clean toilets. It didn't matter. I don't give a crap. I mean, it's got to be done. So if
Right.
I can
Somebody's
do it,
got to
why
do it.
can't you do it?
Yep.
And it gives, even if David doesn't do it because he's your production manager, but the owner does it, the boss does it, the CEO, president, whatever he is. I never considered, I don't like titles. I do not like titles. End of story. So if I, as a team member, can do it, what's the matter with somebody else doing it? It doesn't, I mean, I'm just showing that I've got the responsibility to take care of it and move forward. If you see something on the floor that's not there, it shouldn't be there, pick it up. If you see something outside, pick it up. It's like I never parked, nor did I allow anybody to park that worked for anybody that, or for me ever, and especially myself, is, it's like the president gets to park here, right by the front door or wherever. No, I park way over there. That way I let the customer park there, you know? And there's just those little things like that right now, I'm having a conversation with you that I've not had with somebody else in certain things I'm saying. I've never said that before. I mean, on a
Yeah.
podcast. But it is. It's a
But it becomes ingrained. So, like, while you might not have said that before, you didn't have to think about it. You're not like making it
no.
up. You're just like, yeah, that's exactly how it goes. This is what you do, and that's what makes
Yeah.
leaders also so much different in doing the things that they do. That a lot of times you don't even think about it. You're just like, I just did it because it had to get done.
It's what's right. It's just what's right. And doing and a lot of the secret a lot of people miss is that are leaders. They think they're the leader. They're the leader of the pack. Remember that the
Yep.
Shangri-Las
Yep.
back in the 60s, late 50s. The thing is that, you know, be willing to do anything and always keep the client. The client is your paycheck. The client is your company. The client or your customer is the end of the story. And in the yellow pages, if I'm selling you yellow pages and you're a plumber and I've got you under four different headings and I see you don't have a listing under hot water heaters, I'm going to say, David, someplace there's four of your other plumbers in this greater area they're under hot water heaters. And I really do. I encourage you to put a just a 1 inch ad underneath there that puts, a 24-hour emergency service on your hot water heaters. Okay. No additional charge, and
Right.
the thing is, pay attention. And here's why what do you make on the average hot water heater on an emergency service and blah, blah, blah. Oh, I make $100. Okay. I don't know, just 100
Yeah.
bucks.
Yeah.
Easy for numbers. So, okay. And this ad's going to run you $5 a month. So in a month, it's $60. If you make one sale, if you take one time, you made 40 bucks net and paid for the year. So if you do 30, you just made $3,000 on a $60 investment. And it's easy to come back with that, but it's about the client. And not only about you and helping you, but it's helping your business, it's helping your family, it's helping you with employees, and the person that needs the service, they can find you now. So
Right.
now you're more important. Now you're more important, and they'll remember you because, hey, my God, I remember I was in Schaumburg, Illinois, out in the suburbs of Chicago in probably about 86. It was, uh, uh, we had a hot water heater go crazy uh, on Thanksgiving morning, and here we had all these people coming over, and I wrapped a towel around my arm the best I could, and I only had the one arm that really worked. I reached in and I'm turning the hot water off because it was, you know,
Yeah. Shooting
and
out.
I
Yeah.
called the guy. I just what I use. I mean, I grabbed the phone book. I says 24-hour hot water emergency service, no additional charge for holidays. And it was a holiday for God's sake. I made the phone call and within 2 hours he was there. The new hot water was in, everything was done, and he was gone. The mess was cleaned up and everything kept going. So that's a perfect example. And so, use third-party stories. Tell the truth. I mean, it's just a fact. And but pay attention to that. So whoever that person that I called, he made that decision to buy that ad, but he was the recipient of it because I made the decision to
Sure.
call him. So it's just it's leadership is it's not being up here and sitting in the office and say, oh well, come on in. It's being out there. It's being
Rolling up your
involved.
sleeves, rolling up your sleeves and doing the work, doing the things. I mean,
Get out
uh,
there.
you know, for the past 2 years before the last month, I was helping run a company. They called me a title, but when the wood came, it was a manufacturing company. But when the wood came, they only had one guy to lift the wood. Guess what? I went outside and they're looking at me. They're like, "But you're the boss." I'm like, "Yeah," and the wood still has to get inside before the rain starts coming. So what do
Yeah,
we do? Let's go. Show me where you want it because I'm not the one who's working. I'm not the carpenter. I'm not the guy who's building the furniture. Show me where you want it because it's going to be where you're going to do the job, but I'm going to help you get it. I'm not just going to pull somebody aside and, you know, get somebody else
right,
to do it.
right,
You got to
right.
roll up your sleeves and just do it and make it as easy as possible. Because that's also part of leadership is trying to make your people have their job easier. Don't make it harder when you don't need to be.
Well, if you can make it I don't know if the word's easier, and from my opinion, but the easier is not a bad word, but make it so it makes sense. Make it
Sure.
so it's reasonable. Make it so they want to do it. Because I do not feel, David, I have never had a job. I've never had a job. If I can't enjoy what I'm doing and see the benefit do it, to help other people do it, to help other people grow, to do all that, then I'm going to move on. I want to enjoy what I do. And so by saying that I've never had a job, yeah, I've had a lot of jobs,
Right.
but I've never considered them work. It's like if you're not happy, go do something that you're happy and enjoy. I'd rather make whatever in today's world, let's just say $60,000 a year and be really happy, not be stressed, not worry about traffic in the middle of Manhattan or
Yeah.
wherever. I'd rather be working at an elevator out in a little farm town in the middle of Nebraska, and I can get up and I can start my pickup truck and I can be to work in 3 minutes and it's 3 miles away and I don't have, and you just enjoy it. When you get done, the skies are beautiful and you don't have to sweat getting home and you enjoy it. You go watch your kids play baseball or something. I don't know. So there's a
Yeah,
lot of things
well,
like that.
right. Well, that's why it goes back to the simple life. I mean, really, what do you need? There's only so much. That's how I live. Is very simple
Yeah.
in that I've done well enough that I can make some choices. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's what happened in the past month. I told you I was running a company. I had a heart little scare. Nothing as serious as yours. But I was like, hell no, I'm done. I'm doing what I want to do and make the impact the way that I want to make the impact.
Yeah, and that's a decision you make, and
Yeah.
you just mentioned a choice, and there's a choice. There's a difference between choices and decisions because a choice is, say, the difference between drinking coffee or iced tea. That's a choice, but the decision you make, if you choose iced tea, that was your decision.
Mm.
But you and I and people, all people are, well, not everybody, because some people don't even have the option to make a choice. They may live in a country that the decision is made for them, but
No.
but in our world, you're a product of your choices and decisions
Yep.
throughout life, before and from now on. And that's where it really comes from. But yeah, I agree 100% that that's where it's you got to make that choice and then decide which is the best choice. Do I want a pickup or a car? Well, I really, I gotta, well, there's a reason why you would be looking at a
Right.
pickup, and so
You
it's
need a pickup. I mean, I know, like here in New York, I see lots of people in pickups, and I'm like, what are you driving a pickup for? Like, like if you need it, I mean, there are people who are moving some things around, but like my sister, she's one of those people has a pickup, and I'm like, why? Like you're like not doing any of that stuff. You know, all right, you want it, man. That's a decision, right? That's where you go. It's a choice. It's a decision. Now, as we start rounding up the episode, I always ask everybody to step into the magic garden just to give one piece of advice, like a seed that would grow. Can you give
uh,
us, would you offer us one piece of advice that you want to share with everybody?
I got one final thought that I would offer at the end, but I believe that it's a combination. I don't think there's one specific seed, but it's a combination, David, of, you know, search out what you would really like to do, something you would enjoy, whether that's a product or a service or start a business or work for somebody, but enjoy it. Never give up, never quit. Look at options. Always keep that open. It's a so much of it just gets back to never give up. It's always too soon to quit trying. I don't care what it is, and even if it's something you like, you're going to run into some problems. But keep that grit and that determination, that attitude, that they call it mindset now. Back in our day, back when I was a kid, it was your attitude. But a good attitude is a lot. I've got an old Marine Corps sweatshirt that says attitude is everything, USMC, and in attitude, grit, determination, perseverance, discipline. Have the discipline to get up and do it every day. Do it consistently, and you'll keep going forward. It's kind of like the rabbit and the hare. The tortoise
Yep.
beat the rabbit. Because he didn't quit. He was moving slowly, but he kept moving forward. And I think that ultimately that's just the answer for a lot of things. And no, I didn't. Um, I was being asked if I fed the dogs and didn't do it. So they were sound asleep. But I think that's just it. There's just the seed is find something, have a vision, follow that vision, make plans, but be willing to be able to
Be flexible enough to,
be
move.
flexible,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and do all that. And my one of my final words would be, and it's attributed to Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I don't know that he really said it. It's at the front of my book, and like I said, my book is it's entitled "The Strength Within You," and it's always too soon to quit.
Mm,
And it's really based on, it talks some about my medical issues and what I went through, but more than importantly, it's what, and I was told for 50 years I should write a book or longer. And I finally dictated it and a lady put it together for me. But it's dig within yourself to find those strengths, whether they're irritation, aggravation, frustration, maybe the way you were brought up. Was it in your DNA? Was it in church? Was it, what little things can you draw from to keep pushing you forward? When I broke my neck and told I would never move again, I had made a decision I wanted to walk, not run, walk. And it took me many, 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 many months, and God was with me. And through the power of prayer, I was able to walk. And I didn't walk well. I walked with leg braces and crutches and canes. And I did that for about 17 years. Then I had more brain surgeries and brainstem surgeries, and it put me on a walker. And I was on a walker for 18 years, but I kept moving forward. I didn't use what do they call them, the tennis balls?
yep.
You know, they make a little nylon ski that goes on the back, and they're supposed to last for a year. I bought them by a case. They would last me about a month. I went so much that I would wear the skis out.
Yeah.
But 18 years later, and my 16 enough knee surgeries, and then the third time they replaced my knee, I just couldn't do it. And my paralysis is getting worse as I get older. I'll be 77, and but yet I go like hell. I go more than anybody I know that's 30 or 40 or
Yeah,
50.
you can feel. I can feel your energy.
I yeah.
You're just raring to go, and it's
Well,
incredible.
it's because, guy, I've spent almost 4 years of my life in hospitals,
Yeah.
and that's 24 hours a day. So that's equal to 12 years. So I want my 12 years of life back, and I'm not going to give up till I get it. But, as long as God's got me alive, I want to do something. And like you said, there is an energy and keep it. But what Ralph Waldo Emerson said is, what is the matters behind us and the matters ahead of us are nothing compared to the matters that lay within us. So,
Mm.
simply put, learn from what you've been through and where you're going and what can you use, but it lies within you to make that decision. And where I was going with that is that when I had broken my neck and as I went through all of those months, I looked back, you know, to the years before when I was laying in the hospital for a year in the Marine Corps, and I was in traction in bed for 8.5 months. And what did I do? What did I go through? What did I think mentally to do this, to do that, to get ahead? And so I drew off of those things. So I think just that seed that you asked about, I'm not trying to go on forever, but it's like a seed of corn. Once you plant that seed, that one seed grows into a stalk, and that stalk may be 12 or 13, 14 feet tall, and it's got 3 ears of corn on it, and each ear of corn is, this big, and it's got 200 kernels. Well, that one seed went into 600 kernels. So now next year you got 600 times another. Look how many, and
And that's why,
it multiplies. It's
yeah,
effort.
yeah, no,
Never give up. Never give up.
yep, no, and that's why I always have that seed. Just give me one message that somebody can hear. I mean, you've given us a lot during this episode. I don't want to, I want to say thank you for all that you've given us during this
Oh,
episode.
hey.
And how can somebody find you if they want to
Uh,
contact?
I got a website, and oddly enough, I was sitting there thinking, David, I was going like, I just keep thinking of that ball bat because, man, a ball bat to me is just like, knock the hell out of this. I'm going to move for. But I was thinking of what reflects me as a person, and anyhow, I kept going on, and I typed in the words "never quit trying," and
Mm.
it was available. So I got neverquittrying.com. So if you go to the website neverquittrying.com, it's spelled out all the way, and there's some information on it, and we're changing it up. It's going to be nicer. It's only been out about 5, 6 months, But there's a contact form in there, and just fill it out, and it comes to my email, and my email is j@neverquittrying.com. So,
That's
but
awesome.
that, and the book's available on Amazon, and The Strength Within You, and you would get a lot out of it. Do you have just a second where I could share one story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, just it's a good story, and it's something that happened about three and a half weeks ago. But I got an email off the website, and uh, this lady had said, she said, "Mr. Setchell," she said, "Sir, my son gave me a book, gave me your book that he got from his son. So it was her grandson that bought the book. I don't know where how he heard about it, and it's only been out for 5 months or 4.5 months, and it's number one in two places on Amazon. And but she said, I read the book, and it was interesting so much that I read it again, and I underlined and I highlighted and I circled certain things, and then I read it again a couple of times. Now I want to tell you what the story is." And she said, "I'm 88 and a half. My husband died 5 years ago. I'm not in the best of health, and I really have not cared at all, much to the chagrin of my son. I really don't care if I live to be 90.
Mm.
I really don't. I've had enough of life. But having read your book, I'm like, this guy's like crazy. He just keeps going forward, and he's not going to quit, and he's going for it." So she said, "You know what? You have inspired me enough that now I am making plans for my 95th birthday."
Nice. There you go.
Now, what a testimony. And that's why I wanted to say, it's you got to look out, reach out, talk to people, look at them like we talked to, eyeball to eyeball,
Yep.
shake their hand, feel that compassion, have a passion and an excitement for life. And it's I got more energy than, I mean, I feel it every day. I get up and know, hey, if I wake up and I'm in a lot of pain, I know I'm alive because I heard a lot, but drag your big legs out of bed. But David, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, sir. Thank you for your service again. I just, I
Not,
always
not a problem.
honor those veterans. But thank you also for the service you gave us today, the information, the power that you gave us today, the messages, and really the energy and love and leadership. Having that conversation leadership. So I appreciate that so much.
Not a problem, David. Thank you very much, sir. God bless.
God bless you. And for everybody else, God bless you as well. But peace and love is always the foundation we start off with. And then when you do bring those awesome thoughts like we heard Jay talk about today, and be yourself and hit your sweet spot. Thank you so much.